Nested in between two larger communities in West Bloomfield Township and nearby city of Pontiac is one of the premier smaller communities in our local area in Oakland County, the city of Keego Harbor. And while major cities all throughout the U.S. and large cities in between are thinking about their planning for now and in the future, so are our smaller communities as well. And these changes tend to have big impacts on small towns like Keego Harbor. Joining us to talk about the future of the city and what's being considered at this time for now and years ahead in the heart of the lakes is the mayor of Keego Harbor, Robert Kalman, joining us on the Splash Live. Mayor, thank you for being with us today.
Thanks, Tyler.
Appreciate having you on. It's a really interesting time in the city of Keego Harbor. There's a lot going on. The city has been growing very quickly over in the past several years and continues to look at that growth for the near future. But as you're growing in a modern day landscape, you got to think about not just the modern day, but what's coming up in the future too, as you're considering how to develop your city and keep it competitive and a place that people love to live like Keego Harbor is at this time. So what are some of the main focuses of the city of Keego Harbor at this moment in time as you're thinking about the present and the future of the city?
Oh, yeah. That's $1 million questions, right? I said this when I was first elected, and I always remind people, sort of like something that's a guiding principle for me. I make decisions for the future, but I respect the history of the community. And what are we looking at? I can tell you next Thursday at our planning commission, there'll be a final hearing, PUD hearing for the residences at Cass Lake. Some people call it the trailer park development, but it's really a redevelopment of the land surrounding Orchard Lake near Cass Lake itself. So that's the something that's fairly large. I mean, you're going to most likely ask me about Roosevelt Elementary School, and you're familiar with the Board of Education meeting the other night where the board voted to demolish the historic Roosevelt Elementary School, 103-year-old building. So we're going to be thinking about next steps as to what to do about the property. And that's not an immediate thing. It's more of a long-term thing. People driving through Keego Harbor understand we're going through major reconstruction of Orchard Lake Road right now. The Road Commission of Oakland County has ripped up the road and fixed curbing. They fixed some drainage issues. And by the time the interviews air, you might see a shift from the north side of Orchard Lake to the south side of Orchard Lake, if you will. It's up and down the road, but they're going to work on the other side. And I believe people have asked when it's over. Businesses are hurting, so I'm encouraging everybody in the greater West Bloomfield area that's watching to still make it out to support restaurants like the Lodge or Jaybird over on Cass Lake Road or Gino's. I mean, we want to make sure that people know that event space like Sage Green, where they hold a lot of events, it's still open. Well, tougher to get to, but we want to support everybody as they go through the major fixes. It's going to be so much nicer first week of November when it's redone with the change in the surface. It really needed it. It's a major ding to the roads. We're thinking about, I'm always looking for grant money to help the community, help our budget. We could talk about that a little bit, but these are just some of the things that we're working on right now. So.
Yeah, that infrastructure is such a key part in maintaining the city and allowing, look, we've seen these businesses have had some struggles over the last several months as this construction's been going on. It's been tough to get to them, but people still doing their best to get out and patronize these locally owned businesses, and hopefully will continue to do so after this is done. But it all goes back to, like you said, that in addition to what the Road Commission for Oakland County is doing, your city too, through grant funds and other initiatives, has been able to also do a lot of improvements on bridges and in public safety and other things that really impact the quality of life in the city of Keego Harbor.
Right. Yeah, the key there is grant money. We're a small city, so everything we do is it's like, where are we going to get the money? It's always the question. We're fortunate. We've had some good working relationships with our state representative and our state senator, and they've helped us out. Noah Arbit helped us get, $500,000 that we're going to use towards rehabbing and repairing the Willow Street bridge. bridge. There's a car bridge. There's two. There's a car bridge and there's a walking bridge. We're talking about the car bridge. Hubble, Roth, and Clark, our engineers, have told us, we reached end of life for that bridge. So we're looking at different options. If we come back to us in October at the council meeting, where we're going to talk about different thoughts, if you will, about do we just repair it? Do we modify it? Do we go out for a bond and use the money we get and get a completely new bridge? I mean, there's a lot of options we can look at. We've been fortunate. You've heard me talk about Cass Lake and public safety on the lake itself. Rosemary Bear, state senator, helped us get $100,000 for next year to continue working with the Marine Patrol Division for the Marine Division, if you will, the Oakland County Sheriff's Office. And they've been phenomenal this summer, working in collaboration with the Keego Harbor Police Department. Really strong public safety. We've been fortunate. There's a federal grant that we applied for. It was a small amount, $20,000, but it's going to help us replace our the cameras for our police officers. Well, we want to get some body cameras for them. That's what the grant is for. But we also going to be replacing some of the in-car cameras. And we're looking for more money for that as well. There's an insurance grant we're looking at. The bigger one that we just got, we were notified of a municipal pension solvency grant. It was $700,000, which is going to, it's a big one, which is going to be poured into our retirement, our pension funds, and help shore up that fund so we're able to continue offering, find benefit for some of the retirees that have worked for us over the years. So that was a nice shot in the arm, if you will, vitamin D. So,
Robert Kalman joins us on the Splash Live today, the mayor of Keego Harbor. It's more of your stories from your hometown on your community media outlets, Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. Every single day on the Splash Live. You can keep up to date on the latest happening in Keego Harbor at keegoharbor.org or view their city council and their planning commission meetings right here on Civic Center TV and find them archived on civiccentertv.com. Mayor, so much of this goes back to development and continuing to improve the tax base, keeping Keego Harbor interesting and a place that people are vying to go to, both businesses and residents in the near future. And a lot of that surrounds a few different areas in the city of Keego Harbor. One that's being a focus of late has been on Orchard Lake Road, similar to what's been discussed in the past in terms of rezoning and changing ordinances for businesses in particular on Cass Lake Road. What is that sort of vision going forward for the Orchard Lake corridor through Keego?
Right. What I want to do and what I'm hoping our council agrees to is continuing our planning work with the Gibbs Group. We've worked with a regional, well-regarded, actually global planning firm to re-envision what Cass Lake Road would look like 10, 20, 30 years down the road. A walkable community with shops and restaurants and just, active green space. You got a good image visualization up there. We worked on Cass. Now it's time to extend it to Orchard Lake Road. So when a developer wants to look at Keego Harbor down the road, they have an integrated plan. And of course, like we talked earlier, it always comes down to money, how much you can afford to do. Been actively working and approaching Oakland County to help us, to partner with us, and we've had discussions. It makes sense to work with the county economic development on this because Keego Harbor, we're smack dab right in between two of the busiest lakes in Oakland County. The volume of traffic that drives from Cass Lake through Orchard Lake every day, the numbers are staggering. And whatever is good for the Orchard Lake Road corridor, it's also going to be good for the county. I often tell people, with the residents of Cass Lake being developed, it's not just good for Keego Harbor. All the people who are living and working in the area are going to be supporting businesses all throughout the county, in the city of Orchard Lake Village, the city of Sylvan Lake. I know Pontiac is going through a major renaissance, if you will, with some of the county employees moving downtown. And I know some of the developers, it's like some of the people who worked in Keego Harbor years ago are actually pretty active in helping the city of Pontiac. And so whatever we do here can have potential to spill over because we're really close to the city over there. And we should have good working relations with Pontiac, as well as West Bloomfield and Orchard Lake and Waterford. So that's the next step, is to really work and get some funding shored up, and then start planning with the Gibbs Group, the Orchard Lake Road corridor, and look at the ordinances. It's similar to what we did with Cass Lake Road. I mean, we changed 170 some odd ordinances to signal to developers, if you want to come into Keego Harbor, these are the more innovative approaches you can take. These are the types of developments you can look at now, going from what used to be only a one-story building, old, if you will, 1970s strip mall kind of visionary thinking, going towards that walkable downtown feel where people love working and living in the same community. We're fortunate. I mean, I walk out my door and it's a short 2-3 minute walk over to Gino's or to Jaybird, or I think that's what people are looking for today. If you're going to be, especially now that a lot of people are doing a hybrid approach to working, where they're working at home a couple days of the week, and they're, rather than driving out to a mall, why not be able to just walk down the street to a retail shop? And by the way, national chains, they're finding, we've talked about this, national chains are finding that the big malls, they aren't it anymore. The downtown feel, like the downtown Rochester, if you want, or, that is what we're looking at, where we can really have a viable, a thriving downtown where people enjoy living and working, and in collaboration with some of the parks we've got. I'm pretty high on Keego Harbor down the line. Hey, any other questions? I'd be happy to answer for you.
Keego Harbor Mayor Rob Kalman joins us on Splash Live, Civic Center TV, and 89.3 Lakes FM. Your stories from your hometown each and every day on your community media outlets. And Mayor Kalman, this all sort of connects to the big issue of the day, which is what's going to happen with the Roosevelt Elementary School property going forward. On Monday, the school board had voted 5-2 not only to close Roosevelt School both in its new location and continue to have the old 103-year-old historic building remain closed, but also to eventually demolish the building. Many people from the community urging the school district to reconsider the plans to demolish, including yourself and including chairperson of the Planning Commission, Joel Yoder, as well as fellow Planning Commissioner Karen Meebrod. With the focal point of that statement not just being that emotional connection, that historical connection to the property and to that building that has been an icon, is the icon of the city of Keego Harbor, but that it plays a huge role, that location, that building, in the future of Keego Harbor and that walkable downtown. How does that also factor into considerations at the city level?
Yeah, the meeting was a bit of a disappointment. We're going to look at what we want to do with the property should it get demolished. I'm not so sure it's a foregone conclusion. Any demolishment won't take place for a good 9-10 months. And you were there. There were developers that were in attendance, specifically one who worked on the redevelopment of the Strand Theater in Pontiac. He's working on redeveloping a high school, I think it's in downtown Lake Orion right now, into lofts and living space. And there are options for redevelopment. And I said during the meeting, old is not bad. There's people go to Europe and they look at the property. It's been around hundreds and hundreds of years, and they think it's so nice. I mean, the building is a beautiful structure, and everybody I talk to says, "My gosh, why would they want to demolish an existing building that looks so nice? It's been there for 100 years. It has some history to it, and it can. I really do believe it can be repurposed and reused with the right developers." Look, it's not, people ask me what we can do. It's not our decision in Keego Harbor because we don't own the property. But hopefully, as developers come forward and they make some proposals to the school district, it can be repurposed and reused. And when we worked on our Cass Lake Road plans, we re-envisioned, as you saw from the image, we re-imaged the entire corridor, but left Roosevelt Elementary School as an active building. We understand that the school, there's economics. There's not enough kids anymore in West Bloomfield, Keego, Sylvan, Orchard to support the number of elementary schools that the district has had. So that ship has sailed. But the building itself, we're hopeful something could be done with that. We haven't waved the white flag yet, and let's just see what happens. And see how amenable the board and the superintendent are to actually talking with the developers and listening to what they have to say. So let's just see what happens. Well, it's still pretty fresh. Let's say that.
You can join the conversation in the city of Keego Harbor, both on the Roosevelt issue and how that factors into future city planning, as well as just a general discussion on the future of the city of Keego Harbor by participating in their city council and their planning commission meetings. KeegoHarbor.org for more information on those. You can also find them live broadcast right here on Civic Center TV. Mayor Kalman, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thanks, Tyler. I'll see you again.